Thank you so much. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. He served as Assistant Vice Chief of Staff for the U.S. Air Force. A friend of the show. Thank you so much for being with us. First, these reports of atrocities outside of Kyiv, claims of genocide, even if charged with war crimes. What realistically would happen next in regards to Russia?
Well, good morning, Adrienne. And again, the human carnage is unfathomable. We are well beyond any thoughts at all about there are human atrocities, war crimes, however you want to categorize it. But right now, the International Criminal Court out of The Hague in the Netherlands has obviously kicked off a number of investigations to do just that, to document, but also to verify and validate as they put together, hopefully, what would bring to these charges of extreme criminality, not only Putin, but his entire chain of command. Now, whether or not that's a doable do, whether or not Putin ever enters into a court is again, a far field. But nonetheless, there are legal ramifications on the international stage to move forward with this.
Well, Russia is actually denying that they have anything to do with what's happening in Bucha. In fact, just hours ago, within the hour, we're getting updates of Russia categorically rejecting that they had anything to do with these images. In fact, they called them fake. And now they're asking for a UN Security Council meeting. Why would that be?
Well, again, they're playing deception on the world stage in terms of their, deceptive and deflection ways. Again, this is clearly war criminal material here. And we ought to be aghast at what we've seen now, that the Russian forces are not necessarily withdrawing, but they're resetting towards the east, as the NATO chief underscored in that last clip from Allison. So again, we've got to be prepared for, again, more horrors in not only in Bucha, but in Kharkiv and Mariupol and so forth. And now, okay, what is the United States and the West going to do about it? Are we just going to stand by? Are we going to continue to, but we need to continue to resupply Zelensky and his forces in the field, because they are about to get hammered again in Mariupol and towards the east and the southeast. This is just, there's a tipping point around Kyiv, and it has been liberated to an effect, but now you're seeing the horrors of the Russian invasion unfold, and you're going to see the same thing play over again, Adrienne, in the east and the southeast, as again, this war continues, and the horrific, video that we're seeing from our Western journalists play out is just going to be multiplied.
A former UN prosecutor is calling for an international arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin that would restrict him from leaving the country. Is this even doable?
It may or may not be doable, but it's important for the West to be unified in this, and especially through the International Criminal Court. There are 123 signatories or members of the International Criminal Court. Interestingly enough, Russia and Ukraine, they signed on, but they never ratified it. So they're not technically part of the court. But nonetheless, this is what the world needs to do on the world stage. This will continue to be a war of attrition, not only in the battlefield that we're seeing play out, especially as I mentioned earlier, as the battle moves towards the east and the southeast of Ukraine, but also in terms of the economic and the finance and the diplomatic aspect, but now in the criminal court. So all elements of power and all elements in terms of what we can do about, bringing this conflict not only to an end, but bringing accountability to those responsible, starting with Putin and his generals in the chain of command. That needs to be continued to persist. We can't take our foot off the pedal in that regard, but we need to gather the evidence. We need to keep the world unified, and we need to focus on, okay, not only what next in the battlefield, but what next in the entire International Criminal Court area.
Lieutenant General Newton, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.